Hi, it's Chris with Implied Music. So today is about passing chords. Passing chords help us get from one place in a chord to another, from the root to the third, from the third to the fifth, and then up again. Not all melodic tones will be in your chords. What do you do with those passing tones? Well, passing chords. Let's take a look. Follow along, I'm just going to play. Here's a C chord. It's a C6. And if I want to go up the scale to D, D is not in the chord, so I play a passing chord. And this passing chord is a diminished chord. Diminished chords have a special quality. They are pivot chords. They're ambiguous. We don't really know what they mean. Well, one thing that's great about them is they're made of two tritones. They really want to resolve, don't they? Well, that tendency is what makes diminished chords a great passing chords. Let's continue. C6, D diminished, C6, now E is on top, D diminished again, but the F is on top, C6, another C6, D diminished, and then all the way up to C. Well, some of those chords are C chords. It's a C chord, it's a C chord, it's a C chord, and some of those chords are diminished chords, and it's always the same diminished chord. You can think of it as a version of the dominant of C. Well, every chord that we decide we're going to harmonize our melody with is going to have that shadow diminished chord. It's the diminished chord, generally speaking, a step above the root. I want a passing chord for F major, G diminished. I want a passing chord for D minor, E diminished. You get the idea. Let's take a look at a little piece that I sketched out. Now, this came up because a student had written an epic melody that was just terrific the way it was presented. It was big and bold, but really the first time it needed to be presented in a way that was sweet and silky, and his orchestration just wasn't going to work. Here's a version of an epic melody that has some strong leaps. Watch the melody as it goes. Strong leap. And I thought that would work just fine for a big sort of romantic, heroic moment. But, I thought, well, we could probably come up with a smoother version of that melody. Here, we're in the key of F, starting on the major 7. So pretty. But what if we just smooth out all of those leaps and turn them into scales? And that's what I did. F major, B flat major, D minor, and then the surprise chord, A flat major. It's really exciting. Well, it's gorgeous that way, and you can see we've got this melody harmonized with block chords. And that's a very effective way to harmonize things. We could generate a rhythm with those block chords. It could be quite epic and really, really strong. But if we want a silkier, smoother sound, we can do away with the block chords entirely and make every melodic motion coupled with a chord. Well, here's what the result is. To the F chord. Now we're at the B flat, seesawing between the two, D minor. I love the way it resolves to A flat major. Let's look at that again because it is pretty thick. Each melodic tone, and it's the same melody from the previous instance, is harmonized by its own, let me think of it as a vertical stack. That's an F6 chord. three, four, four different notes. And then since the melody goes down to E, the G diminished. E is in G diminished. Back to the F6. Pretty. It's kind of an old orchestration technique, but it's really slick. So the same thing happens when we go to a new chord. I just change the orientation of my voicings. This is going to be a version of B flat 6 and its diminished chord, C diminished. As you go from chord to chord, especially with scale steps like this, there will be very few notes in common. In fact, if you look here, you can see there are no notes here that also appear there. There may be occasionally, depending on which melodic tone you're on. But you can see it's a smooth transition, great with legato. This is very simple orchestration, just a couple of instruments. Now I'm at the D minor. D minor 7 is what I'm going to choose to get those four notes. D minor 7 and E diminished. So smooth. There are no block chords harmonizing this. The chords are really just a function of the harmonization of the melody. This is an example of what we call coupling, when the harmony and the melody are just closely linked. The melody goes up, the notes underneath it go up. The melody goes down, the notes underneath it go down. You have 4 or 5 notes. Woo! It's an exciting sound. You have to be super careful how you use it. But this is a very smooth way to get parallel motion to sound exciting and rich. Now, you wouldn't use it all the time. It's kind of a romantic sound. It's kind of an old-fashioned sound, but it is a great technique. Well, I hope this has been useful. Like and subscribe. Leave me a comment. I'm always interested to know what you're up to. I'll see you next time.